Sam,
Hello.
congratulations, because the film is such an amazing achievement. I mean,
Oh, thank you, Louisa. Oh, sorry,
no,
Claire. Sorry.
that's all right. Is it
I was
late for
just
you
looking at
there?
Louisa and she's, yeah, yeah, exactly. No, thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
I mean, for me, this isn't. It's obviously set around gangs, but this really, for me, is a story about the human condition
Mm.
and relationships. Is that something that was kind of more important for you to portray in this film?
Absolutely. I mean, it's that humanizing of gang members that was the most important for me. You know, taking that interior view of them, where they're not just these sort of stereotypical hard men, unfeeling and unaffected by emotions in the world around them, you know, which is not at all interesting to me, because that's a sort of a caricature or a cartoon of gang. So for the key for me, Claire, was finding an emotional reality to it, so that, you know, anything that they did had every action had an emotional reaction. You know, in other words, if there's an act of violence, um, that they're affected by it afterwards. It's not just, you know, which you are, like, you know, I got into fights when I was young, and you know, afterwards you're trying not to cry while still trying to be staunch, you know, and that's what makes it feel real, and just holding on those moments afterwards. And so yeah, that interior life for me was critical. It's a well seen.
Well, I think what's great is obviously our protagonist, his nickname is Damage, and
Mm,
that name really emphasizes not so much, like you were saying, not much so much about the pain he can clearly inflict, but it's the damage that he's actually carrying with him
mm,
from his childhood, really. Um, and I think what we see with Jake Ryan's performance is just this incredible um, containment. This the way he portrays the inner life and the inner turmoil of Damage,
mm.
isn't it? Really.
Yeah, Jake was marvelous. He is not only uh, a guy who has a physicality to him, and you know, a history of physical combat, was being a judo champion, but he has an enormous heart and actually humility and humbleness to him. You know, it was he's a star in Australian television, and so, you know, everyone in New Zealand, you know, well, not everyone, but, you know, he's going when he came over to New Zealand, he would constantly be approached by people, and it's in those moments you sort of, you know, I'd be going out for dinner with him as a to actor relationship, and just getting to know each other, and, you know, people would come over and ask for autographs, and it's sort of in those moments that you see, I think, who someone is. And I was just really impressed by his humanity
You
and
could
his generosity.
you could really see that on you know, the way you know your DOP has captured that. I think as well your use of the sort of these close-ups and these kind of lingering close-ups to really see and give us all a
Mm,
time to ingest just what the inner turmoil is
mm,
going through, really, isn't it? And the other young actors
mm.
as well that portray the, you know, the younger Damage too.
Yeah, I mean, just you know, it was important for the way that we shot it, that it wasn't all just completely distant and object, you know, observational and cool, that we were able to connect into those inner lives. And I really knew that, because it was, as I said at the start, it was the story of an inner life. And so for that to play, we needed to get in there and get into their eyes.
And what the other thing for me as well that seems to be such a strong theme in the film is the complexity of the relationships that are
Mhm.
in his life. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so you know, Damage and Moses, I think, are both have this void inside them from this, you know, from their trauma in state care, and they're both trying to fill it in different ways. I think Damage through trying to find connection and belonging, and Moses through feeling like he matters through status, you know, because he's been told that he's felt like he doesn't matter in the way that he's been treated. And so they want different things, but, you know, they love each other and, you know, want to help each other. And it's just sort of in the third act, you know, the way that the different things that they want in life are coming to a head. And, you know, obviously Damage needs to make a decision about whether he stays or in this gang environment or returns to, or without trying to spoil it, you know, or reconnects with his real family.
Yes, exactly. And the film is a work of fiction, but this is very much based in a reality in a world that you came to know very well, isn't it? I think the film took 8 years to make, and you were doing extensive research on a short film. So was there a kind of, when you get to know these people as people and not just gang members, is there a huge responsibility then to represent them in the most authentic way possible?
I care most of all what gang members think of this film. You know, I really do. Because yeah, I absolutely feel this is telling the story of a lot of people, a lot of gang members who have come through state care and, you know, join gangs, you know, and through New Zealand gang history. And so I think there'll be a lot of people who connect and identify with that journey and that story. And it was a privilege, really, for various men from that world to open up to me and share their own actually deeply personal and traumatic stories, you know, of childhood and state care and yeah, the trust that they showed in me was humbling.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with the way that you've told the film, it's told in 3 chapters. So we go back and we see the sort of the backstory of Damage. Again, that's all information that you've sourced from your gang members, but this has helped allowed the audience to empathise with Damage and you know, the circles that he mixes in, really.
Yeah, so these 3 worlds in this film, you know, the Borstal system, as I mentioned, a lot of these gang members came through, and the way that, yeah, by sort of starting with that world, we get to empathize, as you say, because of how unfairly and, you know, harshly and abusively they've been treated, and you know, that's and then the second world is the 70s, living on the streets and forming this gang and butting up against these other young gangs, and then that adult gang world where you know, this adult gang are now starting to have internal conflict, and you know, these men are trying to work out what they want out of their lives. Yeah.
What I really loved as well about the film is your use of music and the sound design. Would you like to talk to us a little bit more about that? Because it's, you know, even the use of no sound is very powerful within the film.
These are great questions, Claire. Yeah, yeah, I was really fortunate to have a sound designer and composer who worked together, which is actually unusual in a film. You know, you often get to the sound mix and you have these competing sonic, you know, soundscape, you know, where they are competing with frequencies. They're, you know, they're not given space for each other's moments. And you know, our sound designer actually suggested this composer to me, and so because I was really hunting for this ambient, atmospheric, bold score. And what Ali had done a short film, but he hadn't done much. And when I heard him, I just felt so, just so excited, and like, I just so sure that I'd found the right person. And I think the sound, the music to me has this sort of often sound design aspect, and the sound design, I really wanted to be, what's the right word, expressive in the way that it created emotional effect through the tone of the atmosphere and the sounds around. And Nick Buckton created these beautiful worlds, and that's one of the great things about the cinematic experience, is that immersion of sound that you feel all around you. And this the sound mix in this film is something that I'm really happy with. And it was so exciting for me to, after locking picture, to delve into that world and to be so enriched by that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does help sort of transport us rather, as the audience to like you say, dive in and become even more sort of emotionally attached to Damage and the other characters. And also the kind of the visual aesthetic. Did you consciously want to tell these chapters with a different type of lighting? I don't just to give us
it was so the director of photography, James Brown, and I think always sort of wanted it to feel like it was from the same universe. These chapters, there's a difference in grade, where the first chapter is slightly cooler, the second, because of sort of the starkness of it, and then the warmth of the teenage chapter reflects the excitement and warmth of these young teenagers, and the finding each other and connecting and belonging. And then there's I think the third chapter is a sort of a more of a grungy feel to it. But other than that, I chose James, and I hunted for a long time for the right DOP for this, because he has this moody, organic feel to him that I really loved, where it's a soulful story, and so I wanted this, the sort of darkness to be enclosing the characters often, and to, really sort of have a more almost, even though it should feel authentic, to have almost a poetic quality to the visual side. And I think James did a beautiful job.
Yeah, really, you really, really did. Am I correct in saying that this is your first feature film?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So when we make films and we want to put it in front of an audience, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about your experience bringing your film to the international market and entering really into the business world of filmmaking.
Yeah.
It no longer becomes. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh no, I was just going to say that the first encounter with that was taking the script to the Cannes market to get it funded, and we're really fortunate actually that there was actually quite a bit of interest in it, and it's we got a great offer, which is really unheard of, in New Zealand these days, to get, we had a fantastic international sales company come on board, Film Constellation, and yeah, they've been really great to work with. And then locally, we've got Madman, who are
Yeah.
also been great partners for us. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And am I
I'm
correct?
not sure if that was the answering the question, but if that's where you were going with it. But
Yes, it was. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, it was. And and is it exciting for you really to think that, you know, now you're promoting it in the UK, your film has become international, hasn't it? It's exciting times for a filmmaker.
Oh, look, I think we're going out on 150 screens in the UK, which that's, I'm just thrilled about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
You've really achieved a lot, because for a first time, I know you've made a lot of short films, but for a first time feature film, you know, there are a lot of feature films that I see that are not of the standard that you have here. So kudos to you for being able to pull it off, because it's a big piece, isn't it, really?
It is. Thank you, Claire. And yeah, we had you know, it's a sort of a testament to the team, I think, that we built around us. I think everyone was, you know, in these films, you never quite have enough resources to do what you want, but everyone makes up for it by really putting in a lot of hard work and going above and beyond. And you know, the producer Vicky Pope was, you know, fantastic to work with. Just you know, it's a huge, ambitious production, and it all ran smoothly. So I just yeah, felt really fortunate to have that supportive team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is that I mean, I interviewed George Clooney, not wishing to name drop there, but you know, and I said, oh, you always work with different actors, you know. I was asking him as a director, and he said, yeah, he said, but if you see, I always work with the same crew, and the
Yeah.
filmmaking is really hard. And I think when you have that that team behind you, and those key players, that you're all meshed and working together, it's such a hard thing to get a film finished, that when you've got a solid crew, for want of a better way of putting it, it makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it, really?
It does. I mean, it's you know, the process is your result, and you know, they're all contributing to the film, you know, in really meaningful different ways, you know. And if you work with artists, you know, it's just it's such a blessing when someone comes to the film and makes something better than you know, than you were thinking. You know, it's just
Yeah.
such it's actually a sort of indescribable feeling. It's really humbling.
Yeah, no, it really, really is. And coming back to the film, the you actually did. Am I correct in saying that you actually used gang members in the film as well, to again to help with the
Yes,
authenticity?
we did.
And what was it like
Yes,
working
we
with them?
did.
Because
Yeah.
obviously they've not worked in front of camera before.
Yeah. On the whole, they were great to work with. You know, I think they just bringing that authenticity and that that energy to the production, and their knowledge and their you know, they're very generous,
Mm.
and you know, in giving themselves to the film. And yeah, I don't know. I love working with people who have never acted before, but who simply are the characters, because the process then becomes, you know, one of just trying to find vulnerability and to find, you know, truth in their moments. They're not having to put layers on to be something they're not.
Mm.
They're sort of they're connecting in with something true. And I love working that way.
Yeah, you
And
seem to be somebody that loves working with actors. Not you know, I'm
yeah,
not saying that you're
love it.
not technical, but there seem to
Yeah.
be, you seem to allow your actors to work their magic in camera. You know what I mean?
I love working with actors. And again, for me, it's just about finding those moments of truth, you know, that electricity when two people have found a real space together and are sort of searching each other and are just so in the moment that, you know, you sort of forget it's a scene, you know. That's always my goal. And I just about love that more than anything else.
Yeah, you could see that it
Yeah.
really emanated when you're watching the film. Again, just allowing these kind of pauses and these moments just to linger on, and not overly so, not overly laboured, but just enough time where I can see that you're sort of just wanting to capture that spark, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, there was another question I wanted to ask you as well about. Oh God, it's completely eluded me. Oh, about the kind of the the violence, or the how delicately you handle the violence. Would you like to sort of speak to us a little bit more about what you wanted to show the audience, and not show the audience?
Yeah. I think it was, I read a beautiful quote once. I think it was from Sam Peckinpah, the director, who said he wanted to give, um, with his film, which well, I'm not sure which one, but he said he wanted to give violence a soul, and I really liked that. It's sort of this idea that it's not this cartoonish violence where I don't know. Again, you know, they just people fight each other, and you know, and it's about um, the fun of it or the entertainment of it, and you know, they walk away and they're not emotionally affected at the end, and it's become this cool moment. You know, I was more interested in trying to situate violence within that emotional reality, which gives it that feeling of stakes and reality, where you know. I know from, you know, like when I was a teenager and I had, you know, a few fights, that, you know, there's a huge amount of emotions charging through you,
Yeah,
as, you know, both during and afterwards, you know, where you're sort of just trying not to cry. And so that, you know, that was always the goal for me, was to try and connect into the emotion of the fight. Um, and
and
yeah,
sometimes kind of less is more. Leaving a certain amount to the imagination is far more
mm,
powerful than actually what you see in front of you.
yes, yeah, that's right. I mean, I love the idea of um, I think a lot of the time our imagination, you know, work is stronger than seeing something. You know, there's certain scenes, you know, famous scenes in different films where you sort of see the setup to a violent act and then cut away, and the not seeing it but hearing it, I
Mm,
think, is often for me um, more powerful, because my imagination fills in all the rest and does it better almost than any effect, you know,
yeah,
physical or visual effect could, or you know, so
yeah.
or so yeah.
Again, that's where the clever sort of sound design comes in as well, doesn't it? Because you can,
Mm,
you know, the sound can give so much more kind of impact, really, than what you're actually seeing in front of you, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What for you, kind of going this whole sort of journey, what's been the most fun for you? Has it been the writing of the script, the research that you did with the gangs, the actual, like, here I am sitting on, on the set at filming at the edit suite? What's been the most rewarding part for you?
Whew. um, it's you know, it's interesting, Claire. I think a lot of the time as a director, I'm pushing, you know, and there's and it's actually on set, it's pretty stressful, and not, you know, you have moments of that you really treasure. But as a whole, I found the serenity of the post sound, particularly, you know, the most rewarding, you know, where you have the time and space to create, you know, the sonic space of the film. You know, that was for me actually the most beautiful part of the experience.